Okay, so that was maybe not my finest moment there.
I like to be educated, but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is bliss. Take me back to before I knew. Rewind, take it out of cue. Innocence can be a young man's game. Signed up for the hall of shame.
Hi everybody, I'm Kim and welcome to my living room. If you don't know, I'm an artist, and for about the last year or so I've been doing this research project where I'm experimenting with different ways of making visual art out of used textiles. Specifically, a lot of the stuff that I'm looking at is coming from fashion waste, so I've been collecting a lot of these items of clothing that sort of exist in this gray area where they're not quite nice enough to be reworn or donated or resold, but they also still have plenty of materials on them that are perfectly fine and could be reused. Now, there's some parts of this project that have been very functional, where I'm focusing more on the actual process of working with these materials and how they turn out and how they look. Some parts of this project have been more artistic and conceptual and thinking about what this means and what our relationship is to the fabrics that we wear on our bodies. And so as we kind of get towards the end of this first chapter of this project, one thing that I really want to do is create some experimental mixed media quilt kind of things that are going to combine both of these two parts of this project together by both experimenting with different techniques, but also thinking about what those techniques kind of represent and what I want to say artistically with them. Or at least that's the high level summary. We're just going to try. So for the next few weeks, I'm going to be making a few different experimental pieces. But before I get started on that first one, I actually have to plan out what I'm doing. So when I was coming up with the proposal for this project, I sketched out a few different ideas of kind of the vibes that I would want for final works that I would make after this is all done. So these were two of the ideas that I had. If you watched my video where I was doing the really giant piece, in that one I also had this sort of thing of the figure, the person in it being made of paint, but the fabric being real fabric. So that's sort of the idea I was going for here. And in this you can see a combination of two different techniques that I want to try. One is more around this face area where in theory I would be painting directly on top of the quilt. Obviously here it's digital, so I was able to just paint on top of it, no problem. Probably with real paint, painting on top of that kind of texture, it would be a lot different. I would need to figure out how to do that. And then the other technique I want to try is painting over top to sort of make the shapes like you see here with the hat and the coat, but I'm kind of painting along the outline, or kind of creating that shadow there, but leaving most of the actual like texture to be the fabric underneath. I'm going to write down the different techniques I want to try. So one of them is going to be quilt and then paint, but it's going to be opaque. Quilt and paint, but it's going to be more transparent, like that. Next, another technique that I really want to try. I'm probably the most excited about this one. It's kind of hard to tell here, but what I want to do is I want to do a portrait. So I would do like just a whole face. And then I want to do it on two solid pieces of fabric that are different, like either different textures or different colors. And I want to do both portraits like at the same time and try my best to paint the exact same thing on both pieces of fabric. And then what I'm assuming is going to happen is I'm going to have these two paintings, but probably on each one, you're still going to be able to see the influence of that fabric that it's painted on kind of poking through. And I'm not sure exactly how it's going to look. And then what I want to try doing is taking each of those pieces of fabric with the paintings, cutting them up into squares at the exact same places, and then stitch them back together. For this, I'll probably just use a checkerboard, kind of like that, and see if I'm able to like recreate that face and have that cool effect of the image changing in the different squares. I'm also very curious. I'm not sure if I would use it for anything, but I want to see what the back of that fabric would look like when I paint on it. I'm actually not sure if the paint's going to soak through or not. Might depend on the type of fabric it is. I don't know. Other things that I want to try are stitching on the painting to see what kind of effect that creates with like maybe being able to draw lines, or I don't know, I'm just curious. I also want to try matching the color of the fabric into the painting to see what that does. And another thing that I want to try is like a lot of the fabrics that I have prints on them where these textiles have been designed by another artist. And I kind of want to think about that, like drawing attention to the artwork that's already on the fabrics and the motifs that are on them, the themes, and maybe taking them and doing them in a different art style, or try quilting together pieces of fabric that maybe all have the same motif on them, or maybe they have different things, and then over top kind of painting a scene that uses those things that are printed on the fabric but in kind of a different way. That will depend a little bit just on what fabric I want to use, but yeah, I want to try using the motifs from the prints. Now this feels a little bit overwhelming because that's a lot of different techniques that I want to try, and I don't have time to do that many. Like, I'm hoping I'm gonna maybe do between 3 and 5 of these total, and they're not going to be very big. But when I look at this list of techniques, I think that I can combine these together in a way that like most efficiently tries out the concepts that I want to try, but then also leaves me room to do more just like freestyle, truly like testing out what I've learned. Let me show you. We know that I really want to do the one with the 2 different paintings, cut them up, put them back together. Paint, cut, quilt. So this will just generally be kind of a square type of thing. I'm thinking it'll have the face on it stitched up, I don't know, like that. So this one I kind of just, it's going to be the painting identical, sewing back together. We are going to look at the back side of the fabric. Next, we know that I want to do kind of the opposite. So I want to try quilting and then painting. Pretend that fit on there. We could do quilt then paint, opaque, quilt then paint, transparent, and I think we could match the colors, and I believe we could use motifs from the prints on the fabric. For this one, I'm going to take a look at my fabric stack, and then I know a lot of my stuff like has flowers on it, so that might be kind of the obvious thing. I would take the type of flower that it is and do a more like realistic kind of painting of it. I would have one flower that's like fully rendered, fully colored here, and I would match the colors in a way where it kind of unifies with the rest of the image. And then on top of that would be a flower that was a little bit more transparent. So as you can see, with all that, we've checked off every single technique that I wanted to try, and we've done that using only 2 different experiments. I'm very pleased with that. This evening, I'm going to spend some more time sketching this out. I'm going to look through my fabric and pick them out. And let's meet back tomorrow and I'll show you what I'm planning to do. All right, so it's time to start working on the first experiment, which is going to be the portrait that I'm cutting up and putting back together. I know I said that I was going to sketch this out and plan it more, but this was the original kind of like sketch that I'd done, just showing the type of concept that I would like to make. And I do really like this, but a few things. One, I just finished doing that giant painting that was mostly in black and white. So I know for sure that I don't want to do black and white again. And I'm not really feeling like it's worth it to put the time into this to do like a fully rendered, full color portrait kind of thing. And really the point of this is I just want to show like there's a face and I'm cutting up the face and I'm putting the face back together. That's it. And the other thing was this original sketch, I like it, but I wanted the person to look a little more human, like have more texture to their face. So anyway, I took that original sketch and I made some tweaks to it. I just like mirrored it and I was messing around with it a little bit. But don't get attached to this. I realized that this looks exactly like a friend of me and Benji's. So then I was like, okay, whose face then could I take if I'm at risk for it looking like somebody? And I was like, gotta be my own face. That's anyway. So I used my own face as a reference and I don't know, I wasn't really feeling it. I started working on this and I was like, I'd kind of rather just maybe get an outline going and then just see where the paint takes me instead of having too much of a plan. So then we have to figure out what fabric I'm going to use. I was going to do this off camera, but then as I was doing it, I thought it was actually kind of interesting to think about together. So I want one to be kind of like a control group, if you will. It doesn't necessarily have to be like stark white or anything, but maybe kind of a lighter color. Just something where the colors will be kind of like consistent and roughly like as expected. I don't know. And then for the other one, I kind of wanted one on like a really high contrast pattern. Like maybe this kind of thing could be good. My only worry with this one is I think the pattern might be a little bit too spaced out. Because if we think about it, this is going to be the whole size of the face. Then I'm cutting it and sewing it back together. So I don't think there's enough like pattern here for your brain to really register that it's a pattern. I think this had good potential, but it's not gonna work for this. This one, I think with this one it could look a little bit more intentional. I'm not sure. I do feel like these together is quite beautiful though. But this one I feel like could be my control group here because it's light enough. What about this one? This fabric's really sheer. I'm not sure if that would be really good or really bad. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do, let me show you here. Once I started seeing these two together, I don't know. I can't unsee that now. I feel like that's so beautiful. Like this isn't gonna really be testing the colors, but I have another experiment I'm gonna do where I'll paint on top of a quilt. And I feel like this is a really good combo. The patterns kind of flow together nicely. Like the off-white here goes perfectly with the beige there. Oh, it's just too good. Okay, I think I'm going to do this and then I'll go for more colorful design on the one where I'm painting on the quilt. And I really want that effect of like the painting going across the two fabrics and like the contrast of these two. So I think this is a pretty good like simple way to get that across. But don't worry, this is all fabric from my stash, so anything that doesn't get used for this will be used for something else. Now that we have our fabrics picked out, I'm going to get them all prepped to start painting, and then I'll start painting, I guess. Alright, so I got the pieces of fabric put on these embroidery hoops. By the way, I use those just because they're a really great tool to keep the fabric pulled like evenly tight while I'm painting and to keep it flat. And it also raises up the material off of my desk a tiny bit while I'm working, which just really helps avoid that mess. But while I was painting here, we did run into a little bit of a challenge. So I had tested this out by using my light box here and laying the embroidery hoops on top just to make sure that the light went through the fabric nicely and that you could see the fabric when you laid them both on top of each other, the way that I show right there. And it looked to me like it was all good. I've never tried this technique before, but I thought that'll be perfect. What I can do is I can sketch out the rough outline on one piece of fabric and then lay it on the light box. You'll be able to see the painting through there. I can transfer it onto the other piece of fabric, no problem. I had no doubt in my mind that this was going to work perfectly fine. So I used the black piece of fabric to start and used this yellow paint. You can see obviously the sketch shows up super bright, super clearly. It has good contrast against the black of the background. I used the sketch I'd done like with my own face as a rough reference, but I mostly just freehanded it and kind of made it up as I went along. I really didn't want it to look too much like me. I don't know what that says about me, but sorry if you can hear Maggie, by the way. She's lying on me really close to the mic. So I don't know what happened here. I don't know what went wrong. I laid the piece of fabric down, put the beige one on top, and you could not see the painting at all whatsoever. It was actually wild. There was parts where, I had painted here I'm adding more on to see if it was the thickness of the paint that was the problem. But there you can see there's parts where I painted like from the black through the white back onto the black, and you couldn't even see where the paint went on the white parts of the pattern. It was so strange. I still don't really understand what happened, but I was really confused. And I was really just wanting to get started. I didn't want this to take any longer because I just wanted to do my painting. So I did some sort of quick problem solving here. I tried with a piece of paper, and same thing. You couldn't see the painting at all through the paper. I tried once again to add more paint on to see if that made a difference, but it didn't. I tried without the light box. Then it's yellow, so it's hard to see. So I was like, okay, the paper's not going to work. What else do I have? So I went over to my drying rack and I grabbed the pieces of parchment paper that I use when I'm dyeing fabric to place the pieces down on. And you could see it through the parchment paper. So I was like, okay, I think I know what I'm going to do. So I took the parchment paper, took a Sharpie, and then I put the parchment paper down, put the beige fabric on top. You could see that through. And I drew on the back side of the fabric with the Sharpie, got the sketch transferred on that way. And then when I flipped over that piece of fabric, I could just barely see the Sharpie through onto the front side. So then I went with the yellow paint and did the initial sketch on the correct side of the fabric. I thought that was pretty good problem solving skills there on my part. Sometimes being impatient is good because it puts that pressure on to just solve the problem as quickly as possible. And I thought that was pretty good. So here I just finished up doing that sketch onto the other one with the yellow paint, and then I'll get started on the actual painting. Hello. Let me get it so you can see me here. What is on the ground there? that's my leggings. Whatever. Okay, so because I couldn't... Whoa, that made a mess underneath. Huh. I was wondering about that. Oh. Whoa. Okay. One step at a time. So because I couldn't get these images to be like for sure exactly the same, I had to kind of freehand it. I think what I am going to do is once I've quilted them together, I'm going to go back in and add a little bit more detail with the paint. Really what I want to show like with this technique is the difference between just painting on top of a quilt and painting it first before it's quilted together. And really that's going to be about the paint kind of like being right in the seam, and also just the effect of like how they're slightly mismatched when I quilt them together, but also in a way they might line up better in some ways when I quilt them together versus painting on top. I don't know. So this is something, oh, that's so cool. This is something I was so curious about, is how it would look on the back. And yeah, that is freaky. It's like a little ghost. Ooh. Okay, cool. And then how does this one look? Interesting. This one's interesting too because I had the Sharpie on the back. Huh. Yeah, it's basically wherever I laid it on really thick, you can see here. So I think what I'm going to do is go blow dry these so that they're super dry. I might iron them, but I'm a little nervous because I didn't do the exact recommended ratio. It's like they say to do 1-to-1 paint to fabric medium. But because this isn't like clothing, I just sort of put a little bit in here and there. So can you like iron acrylic paint? I'm a little worried that it would really fuck up my iron. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But yeah, I'm really happy with how that's looking, and I'm very impressed by the backs. I'm definitely going to take good pictures of that. Okay, let's go. Now that the painting was out of the way, or at least mostly done for now, it was time for probably the most tricky part of this whole process, which is I had to decide where I was going to cut each painting. The way that I did this was I tried to line each one up exactly on top of each other. So you see I had the beige one folded in half, placed it on top of the black one, made sure they were in exactly the same spot or as precisely as possible. And then with my chalk pencil, I started drawing on top and making a grid. My goal here was to make a grid on each painting that I knew was in exactly the same spot on each one, and that would help me decide where I was going to cut. Since I was going to be sewing the pieces back together, I couldn't just cut along the exact same lines on each one. I actually had to beforehand select which pieces I wanted from each side and cut a little bit extra around the edges to make sure that I had a seam allowance. To help with that, I actually drew lines outside the lines of the grid, which you'll be able to see a little bit, to mark 1/2 inch around the outside of each square that I wanted. And then that's what you see me doing right here, is I picked which square I wanted and started really slowly, really carefully, as precisely as I could, cutting around the outside of that square, following along the guidelines I'd drawn. Once I started doing this, it wasn't too bad. And I gotta say, the texture of cutting through the painted fabric, very nice. Do recommend. But yeah, I cut out a bunch of these little geometric shapes, the ones that I needed for each side. I'm glad that I started off this technique with a pretty simple design, because I think if this got more complicated, it'd be hard to keep track of, but this was totally manageable. I got all the pieces that I needed, and I was ready for the next step. And now we've reached a point where I hate when this happens. I should really stop working, and I want to keep working so bad. But the painting took less time than I thought it was going to. But I need to know that that doesn't mean that the sewing is going to not take very long. So I'm going to call it there for today. And see you tomorrow when we're going to sew this together. I'm so excited. Good morning. It actually is the next morning. That doesn't happen very often. Yo, Benji's here.
Here for review.
Yeah, he hasn't seen this yet. So I did the painting.
Yep.
And I cut it out. And now I'm putting it back together. So this is, I'm starting to clip the pieces.
Yep.
Then I was going to start going into detail here, but I wasn't sure how well it was going to line up. So I figured I got the basics done. I'm going to quilt it together like this, and then I might go over at the end and add details on the whole thing.
Okay.
Now I'm going to sew it together.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Okay, well, have fun.
Thank you. Now that we have our first quilt out of the way and all done, I'm feeling pretty confident, and I think I'm ready to move on to the second quilt and to our third kind of freestyle one. Now, for the second one, I had talked in the planning session about how probably I was going to be using a flower as the motif. But I took a look through my fabric stash and I found this adorable fabric that came from an old pair of scrubs. It has little turtles on it, and that got me thinking, first of all, I would love to do a painting of a turtle. I feel like that would just be so fun. Oh, Mags is here. I really like that contrast between the cartoony turtle that's on here and then doing like a realistic painting of a turtle. I feel like that would be really fun. And this also kind of got me thinking that I had some other fabric that sort of goes along with that. So I have this that's from an old t-shirt that I had that has that wave art on it. The Great Wave by Hakusai. So anyway, once I got that idea, the rest kind of fell into place because I realized blue is by far the most popular color that I have. I have so much blue fabric. Spent some time going through, picking out what I wanted, cutting it up. I recorded myself doing it, but when I was going back and looking through the footage, it's actually really unsatisfying to watch. So you'll just have to be pleasantly surprised by the final composition. And then for quilt number 3, we're going to be doing a little bit of a freestyle. For this one, I'm going to be taking a bunch of small scraps that I have, using smaller pieces. I really want to be meticulous and try and get the process down and really do it right. That means for both of the quilts, actually, I'm going to be really thorough. I'm going to trim things. I'm going to square things up. I'm going to press. I'm going to do it right. Really see like where I'm at and if I can get a good final result. And so I did this little sketch where I kind of had the idea of the quilt block, and then maybe I would paint like an eyeball or something in the middle. And then around the outside, I'm imagining attaching a bunch of different buttons and tags and things to kind of create this sort of chaotic circular design. I want it to feel overwhelming, but also be like aesthetically pleasing, and just sort of see what we can make when we incorporate tags and buttons from clothes and the painted element, maybe some embroidery, and of course a bunch of different samples of a bunch of different types of fabric. I think all that's left to do is start sewing. This is kind of a cute camera angle, actually. You're in my sewing machine right now. Could I do it like, hold on. What do we think of this angle? Do you feel teeny tiny? You are teeny tiny. You know, I took a little break. It's been a few days, and every time that I do these stacks, I think that I'm going to remember what it means, and then I absolutely never do. So it's really good that I record, and I also took reference pictures, so we should be okay. As you can see up here, I have the pressing mat all ready to go. The iron's right there. We're doing this right. We're going to sew, then we're going to press. Then we're going to sew, then we're going to press. It's going to be good. It's going to be good, okay? Let's go. That is looking clean. I'm so happy. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, let's lay this out here. I'm so excited. Yeah. Oh, that looks so good. Okay. I mean, it's definitely not perfect, but I'm still really, really pleased with that. I'm going to take a little break, but then we're going to keep going and add the border on here. Let's go. so pretty. You're so pretty, boo-boo. My pretty girl. My beautiful pretty girl. T'es bon chat, toi. Oui, t'es bon. Alright, it's the next day. Doing that one block took way longer than I was expecting, but I guess that's the price that we pay when we're doing something right. But that's okay. Today we're going to get started on the other one. This experiment to me is going to be more representative of kind of the cumulative work of my whole fabric project. So very excited. Doing the one yesterday, it didn't turn out perfect, but it gave me more hope that like I'm getting the hang of doing a really like well-made, precise quilt, even though we weren't there yet. And for me, you know, I'm an ADHD girl. I think having everything right there and accessible makes it a lot easier for me to do the right steps. Whereas if something needed to be set up or something was in a corner, then it's a lot more tempting to start skipping steps, cutting corners, blah, blah, blah. But in quilting, sometimes cutting a corner is not cutting a corner. Really makes you think. Doesn't it, Mags? Maggie's like, I have actually never thought about anything before in my entire life. Uh-oh, I triggered her. I triggered the beast. Maggie is a vicious animal who does attack people and is really not very nice. But I can mess with her because I know exactly where her limits are. And also because I'm her favorite human. But you're very cute, aren't you? Once again, it's only been a couple days and I have no idea what any of this means. But that's okay because we filmed it. I'm going to pull it up here and we're going to do this together. Because one of the things that I was really struggling with when I was doing this layout, I think all the pieces were there and I'm moving them around and I'm trying to come up with like the perfect arrangement. When I'm in that frustrated state and I'm wanting to find the answer and I feel like I can't quite get there, the best thing I can do is just step away for a little bit. Let's pull up my screen here and here's me. Okay, and I show this. Do I like that? Yeah, I like that. I feel like maybe my fresh eyes thing is not working this time. I mean, it's not meant to be like a final thing, right? I'm kind of just going through the techniques. And I do feel like if I add stuff to it, like put in little tags and different little strips and stuff, I feel like that'll make it better. I was really hoping I was going to look at it and then just be like, yes, I love it, actually. But I don't really. Anyway, let's get set up here. Time to make any last minute adjustments here. Okay, so here I see that I didn't really have a consistency in like the direction of the angles. So I rotated some of these around, and then here I have the airplane fabric like right side up. And then I thought, oh, here if I did backwards. And then I'm looking over here where I have this teal fabric because I want to move this. That's the whole reason I'm doing this. And I'm wondering what if I put like I have right way, backwards. And then here kind of across I do right way, backwards. What do we think about that? That's kind of interesting. And then here we have like bright pink, light pink. Then across here, oh yeah, because then here we have purple. No, I think that makes sense because it's like pink, gray. Here we have the teal, but here we have teal. It's not going to do that, but I think that's okay. No, I think this is good. Does it make sense to have the purple here, or by my own logic? Fuck, I'm just changing everything. By my own logic, should it be down here then? Oh no. This is why I never get anything done. No, but I do think that's like, that looks more right. Does it? Yeah. So then I think this should move here because it's kind of a continuation of the pink. So yeah, in the middle here, we have the pink, the white, the purple, the blue, teal, the gray, the pink, the yellow, green, and the teal again. The pink goes into this, the white goes into this, the purple goes into this. This one goes up here, this goes to here, this goes to here, this goes to here, this goes to there. Yep. Your eye is going to be kind of like drawn to like seeing the same things together. So if I have like one pattern over here and one pattern over here, that contributes to the sense of balance in the overall picture. I think that's why I've been having a hard time figuring out where I would put this piece in, because it's such a bright red. I could use the other side of this one, which kind of makes it more subtle. I really hope that I can use these. These are from like Costco bags of rice that Benji's dad gave me. I think this might be it, but I'm gonna ask Benji, what do you think? What do you think of this composition? Is there anything like that looks really wrong, or
No, I don't think so.
no, you think it's good?
I think it's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Slap that together.
I will slap that. Now that I worked on that a little bit more, I think I'm going to lock this in. I'm going to take a picture on my phone so that I have it as reference. What we're going to do now is we're going to not cut corners by cutting the corners. The ruler kind of has these little corners. Just makes it a little easier when you're sewing everything together. So, going to iron them, going to trim them, and then we're going to start sewing them all together. I'm excited. This is definitely not my finest moment here. I'm just gonna Google like how to clean plastic off of an iron and we'll see. How to clean melted plastic off iron. Okay, so the consensus seems to be that I should let it cool down. Try just peeling it off like that. If it seems like it's not really coming off that way, then I should heat it up again, but on a low setting. Okay, well, this is a fun little side quest. I can't really do anything until I fix it. This is a very good test for my patience because I desperately just want to start sewing the pieces together, but we're gonna do this right. Okay, spatula is not working at all. I'm gonna go get my tweezers. I wonder if tweezers would work. Okay. Oh, okay. It seems like... Okay, I think it's coming off. It looks like a slice of cheese or something. Do you see that? Okay, well, that worked. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and remove the other piece of this that I was gonna use so that I can iron this whole thing. All right, my friends, look at that. Wow. know. I'm not sure exactly what the like realm of perfection that we're aiming for is in quilting. Oh, fuck. I made a mistake. Do you see it? Right there. No. Now that I pointed it out, you're not going to be able to unsee it. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly like how perfect it's supposed to be because I feel like I look at it and just see how wonky it is. I don't know. There's some spots that line up perfect, but then like over here, I feel like that one's a little bit wonky. I don't know. But I do feel a lot better looking at it when I just kind of hold it up here. I feel like that's pretty good. So I did talk about doing like embroidery on this and adding some different things on. I do still want to do that. I'm feeling a little bit protective because I feel like this is, even if it's wonky, this is like the most best quilt that I've done. But at the same time, I get a little bit better every time. So it's part of the process. Trust the process. I think what I'll probably do is this afternoon, Benji and I are going to do some painting. So I'm going to paint the turtle on the other one. Let me get it, actually. I'm going to paint the turtle on this one. Last night, I just took this kind of canvas material and I just did a little basting stitch along the top to kind of hold it in place. And then I think I'll do the painting directly on here. My thought was like, I feel like this material is kind of thick enough to hold the paint pretty well. I think the fabric here, the paint would soak straight through. But I think with these 2 layers, that should be good enough. So I'll paint the turtle on here. Oh, like a painted turtle. And then on this one, I'll start kind of mapping out. I was going to do an eye, right? I'll kind of sketch it out on here. And then next time we'll take a look and see what we want to do. It's funny. I know I spent so much time planning, but it's really like, I don't know. I do think that it's good that I tried to plan, but I also feel like for where I'm at right now, just kind of figuring it out as I go is kind of better. But yeah, I'm very pleased with that. It's looking good. Just waiting for Benji to come back with coffee. Currently 4:00. We have an appointment at 7:30. So I'm not going to have time to like super get into painting, but I think I'll have enough to make good progress on the turtle and start figuring out what I'm going to do here. They're done. The quilts are done. They're done and I don't have to think about them anymore. No, I'm really happy. Let's go get them. Let's do the big final reveal and recap. So you guys already saw quilt number 1.
Really happy with that. It turned out a little bit crooked, but I don't really mind. I do still have the cutouts of like the pieces that I didn't use from the composition. And I have an idea of using them along with the rest of this fabric to kind of make like a piece that goes along with it. I really like the fabric that I used for the back here. This was from, I think, some blackout curtains that I had. Anyway, just on its own, I think that looks so good. The technique of cutting it up, putting it back together, easy, worked really well. And you'll see with the other ones, but I do think that there is benefit to painting before doing the quilting, because having that paint right in the seams does, I think, make a difference. But you'll see as we keep going. Also, I have a cold, so if I sound a little funny, that's why. Then we have quilt number 2, the turtle quilt. Are you ready? Ta-da! Look at that. So for the back on this one, I used this fabric here, which I think you can see it has this like bubble print on it. It's very cool. I feel like that went with the theme. I also went around the turtle itself and added some decorative stitches. I don't know how well you can see, but at the top there, I tried out doing the stitches with some gold thread that I had. And I think that this was cool because I wanted to have that sort of cooperation between the turtle and still being able to see the quilt block. And then what you also might be noticing is that I serged around the outside with my serger. I actually just used the colors of thread that came with the serger. This was, I guess, not my first time using the serger, but my first time using it for something that was going to be permanent. You know, it went well, but I think me and the serger still have some work to do on our relationship, but we're doing all right. Painting on top of the quilt was not too bad, but you can kind of see that it creates just a little bit of a different effect with the face. The final result is a little bit smoother across when you've painted and then sewn it together after. With this one, the paint kind of sits on top of the seams a little bit more. So it's not bad by any means, but when you're looking at it up close, it does just look a little bit different, and that's okay. Now, the third and final, the freestyle. I think this one's my favorite. So you saw me do the sewing, you saw me paint on the eye. After that, I went and added the little tags and buttons, and then I did the binding at the end. There we have it. I'm so pleased. So I was looking through my stash and I found this trim that you see here, the lime green kind of wavy stuff. And then because there was a lot of pink in this, I was just like, ooh, the sort of baby pink with the lime green. I love that combination. I feel like that's going to be really cool. And because I had sort of green up here and over here, I feel like that was good. And then I went into my my sewing machine settings and I used some of the decorative stitches. But yeah, so up here I added some, and also like across here, just here and there, I put the little decorative stitches on. Hand sewed the buttons. I also hand sewed most of the tags on too. In the future, if I'm planning to add tags, I think I would do it while I'm quilting. I kind of forgot this time, but I was still kind of able to get that effect just by kind of folding the tags, sewing it down, folding it back over. I think this is a really fun piece. It shows the chaos. It's kind of giving Big Brother a little bit. I love it. I feel attached to this one. I really like it. And so with that, we have officially completed our 3 little experimental quilts. Wow, they're all done. I don't really have a good way to hold all of these, but you've seen them. You trust me. This has been a really fun project to do. Making the video, though, has not been fun. This has been horrible. You might have seen throughout this, like, the audio is out of sync, and it wasn't, like, consistently out of sync, and it just was such a pain in the ass to fix. I'm recording this after I've edited the video. And then I'm still getting the hang of recording like really long form stuff. And when I was reviewing the footage, my camera kept freezing and I didn't realize. My computer crashed like a million times while I was recording. And then, sorry, this is kind of a meta conversation. The video's done. If you don't want to hear the video making conversation, then See you next time. No, but I think I recorded like too much footage for this video because I would record me doing something that wasn't particularly interesting. And then I would be like, oh, it's fine. Like when I edit it all together, it'll make sense. But then as I'm editing, I'm like, well, nothing really happened while I was doing this. I'm just sewing. So it was kind of hard to keep that balance of like keeping it interesting and showing when stuff actually happens, but also showing the whole process. I don't know. And originally I was going to do 3 separate videos for each 3 quilts. And then I changed my mind while I was recording about 100 times about whether it was going to be 1 video or 3 videos. And that made it really, really fucking hard to edit. Hey, Kim, next time, just pick. It doesn't matter what you pick, but just pick an option. So in the end for this video, I had about half a terabyte of footage. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of stuff. But the actual footage itself was mostly out of sync, bad quality, audio was terrible. That was all my fault. Now I know. Didn't plan the structure of the video. Didn't keep track of what I recorded. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I guess what you can learn from this is that if you happen to have any old clothes lying around and you want to try quilting with them, go ahead. They work totally fine. I really had no problems. But if you're going to make a video about it, maybe you should plan a little bit better than I did. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye. There's a face, and I'm cutting up the face, and I'm putting the face back together. That's it.